Why your dog stares at you while you eat? It's not just hunger. You're sitting down for dinner. You've barely picked up your fork. And there they are, eyes locked on you, completely still, not barking, not whining, just watching, waiting, with that expression that makes you feel like the worst person alive for not sharing your pasta. Most people assume it's simple. Dog sees food, dog wants food, the end. But what's actually happening behind those eyes is one of the most scientifically layered behaviors in the entire human-dog relationship. And the hunger explanation, it only accounts for a fraction of it. Let's start there, because the hunger theory isn't wrong. It's just incomplete. Yes, your dog can smell your food from across the house. Their olfactory system is roughly 40 times more sensitive than yours. They're not just smelling chicken, they're smelling every individual compound in the chicken, the seasoning, the fat rendering in the pan. So of course the smell registers. But here's the problem with stopping at hunger. A food-motivated animal, purely driven by hunger, would beg. They'd vocalize. They'd paw at you. They'd be frantic. What most dogs do instead is something far quieter and far more deliberate. They watch your face, not the food, your face. Researchers have documented this repeatedly. When given the choice between fixating on the food source or the human holding it, dogs consistently orient toward the human's eyes. Wolves, even wolves raised by people, don't do this. They fixate on the food, the social attention, the face gazing. That's something dogs evolved specifically in relation to us. And that changes everything about what the stare actually means. In 2016, researchers at the University of Vienna published a study that tested dogs on a task they'd never solve alone. Food was placed out of reach. Dogs had two options: try to get it themselves or look at the human in the room. Dogs with stronger human bonds didn't try harder to reach the food. They looked at the person sooner, longer, and more persistently. They were essentially asking for help, using eye contact as a communication tool, the way a pre-verbal child points at something they want. But here's what the researchers found that almost nobody talks about. The dogs weren't just signaling hunger, they were checking in. The gaze was as much about the human's reaction as it was about the food. They were reading your face for information. Is this available? Is this safe? Are you going to help me? Your dog isn't staring at your dinner. They're having a conversation with you about it. Now here's where it gets really interesting, because this isn't just about communication. It's about chemistry. You may have heard about oxytocin, the bonding neurochemical that floods a mother's brain when she holds her newborn. In 2015, a team at Azabu University in Japan discovered something that shook the scientific world. When a dog gazes at their owner and the owner gazes back, both of them experience a simultaneous spike in oxytocin across species. The dog's brain chemistry changes. So does yours. And what triggers this loop more reliably than almost anything else? Mutual eye contact during moments of shared experience. Meals, feeding, the act of one creature watching another eat is neurochemically an intimacy ritual. Think about what that means the next time you're at the dinner table. Your dog isn't just waiting for scraps. Their nervous system is using the moment to reinforce the bond. Every second of that eye contact is biochemically a small act of attachment. But there's a layer to this that almost no one considers, and it comes from evolutionary biology. Dogs descended from wolves that began approaching human campsites roughly 15,000 years ago. The wolves that survived weren't the most aggressive or the most cunning. They were the ones most comfortable around humans, the ones that read us the best. Here's the critical part. What does a wolf pack actually do together that bonds them most reliably? They eat together. Communal feeding in social mammals isn't just logistical, it's trust building. Sharing food with another creature, in the evolutionary context your dog's brain is running on, is one of the most significant social signals that exists. It says, "You are safe. You are part of my group. I trust you enough to be vulnerable around resources." When your dog sits with you at mealtime and watches you eat, even if they never get a bite, they may be participating in something ancient, a ritual their ancestors performed to cement pack bonds. Presence at the meal, not participation in it, may be enough to satisfy a drive that goes back tens of thousands of years. Your dinner table might be, to your dog's brain, the modern equivalent of a kill shared on the step. Now let's talk about something that genuinely surprised researchers when they started measuring it. A study published in Learning and Behavior gave dogs a choice. Spend time with their owner eating a meal with no food available to the dog, or spend time alone with a bowl of food. Many dogs chose the owner, not all of them. The effect was strongest in securely attached dogs. But the fact that it happened at all dismantles the simple hunger model completely. For a meaningful portion of dogs, the social experience of being near you at mealtime outweighs the value of eating alone. The presence is the reward, which leads to one of the stranger findings in canine science. Researchers tracking eye movement in dogs found that when a dog gazes at a human face, they start from the left side, the same way humans do when reading emotion. We naturally look left first because the right hemisphere of the brain, which processes emotion, controls the left side of the face, making it more emotionally expressive. Your dog isn't just staring blankly. They're reading your emotional state, checking your mood, trying to understand if now is a good moment, or if you seem tense, or if something about you is different today. The stare at dinner isn't passive waiting. It's active analysis. Here's one last thing I need you to hear, because it matters. If your dog has always stared at you during meals and one day stops, completely stops, no interest, turning away from the table entirely, don't assume they're being independent or that they've finally given up begging. Appetite changes are often the first sign of illness in dogs, and they frequently manifest as social withdrawal before any other symptom appears. A dog who stops being interested in food-related social moments before they stop eating entirely may be telling you something is wrong in the only way they know how. Equally, if your dog's mealtime behavior suddenly escalates, if the calm watching turns to frantic, obsessive begging, resource guarding, or anxiety around food when there was none before, that behavioral shift can signal pain, cognitive changes, or metabolic issues like thyroid dysfunction or Cushing's disease. Your dog doesn't have words. The stare is a language, and changes in that language are worth paying attention to. So the next time you sit down to eat and feel those eyes on you, the steady, patient, utterly committed gaze of an animal who has not moved in 4 minutes. Remember what's actually happening. They're reading your face. They're participating in a bonding ritual older than agriculture. Their brain is releasing chemicals that strengthen the attachment between you. And some of them aren't even really there for the food. They're there because you're there. The science of that stare is, genuinely, one of the more beautiful things in it. If this changed how you see your dog, subscribe and tell me in the comments. Does your dog stare at you during meals, or do they wait somewhere else? I want to know. And if you want to understand what your dog is actually doing when they tilt their head at you, that video is next. And the neuroscience behind it is stranger than anything you'd guess.